of you want to do things right? To keep up with keeping your lives tight. Tight as in being right with the truth of true insight. Who of you want to do things right? Who of you want to truly succeed in attaining all in that which is your need? To be heard by the real answerer of all deeds, the true hero of all whom pleads. Who of you really want to bow down to the true King of Kings commanding the crown? To worship the one that ever rules alone, commanding everything of creation from the seat of its throne.
Welcome to an A.H.A.D moment, the calm before the storm. I'm Fakir Abdulaziz, and with me is my brother Adam Hanif Saleem, and with us is Lord Holy-Apostle Deen Saleem, the messenger prophet of the Lord El, known as Ahezaah, and many other multitude of names at this time, the true reality of this day's prophecy. Off camera, we have our Holy Queen Mother Rabia Saleem. May Ahezaah's peace and other blessing be within and about your presence, Mother. And as well as to our guest audience. We have a small guest audience with us, and we want to extend that greetings to them, as well as to the TV audience. May Ahezaah's peace and other blessings be within and about your presence. Lord Holy-Apostle Deen. Through that long introduction, we want to get right into our show. We were talking about a subject matter, and the matter talked about the supreme reality of all things, our Lord El, the Lord that ultimately we can't see in its totality at all, and thus we're tried by not being able to see it. And that trial, we try to escape. We're going to title our show to Trying to Escape from the Invisible Man. You know, Lord,
man meaning mind.
Yes, you know, the man meaning mind, the invisible supreme mind.
Yeah.
And the futility of it, Lord.
Well, you know, one of the greatest trials that we have, next to accepting the messenger of El, is accepting the fact that El is at all places at all times. I've debated, well not debated, but I've had conversation with others trying to debate me, which I refuse to debate. I make my statement and keep moving. You have Muslims that believe, well, you just have religious people. Some believe that the Lord is seated upon the throne, and they imagine the throne to be just a huge seat for the Supreme Being. And it stays on that seat, on that throne in heaven, watching over the worlds. But that language needs to be interpreted. The throne of El is everywhere. The throne of El is not relegated to just a seat, as we would say, as seated in a chair, but the seat of power that is everywhere, in everything. The sovereignty of the Lord El is everywhere, in everything, causing everything to be as it is. And when we say the invisible man, with man meaning mind, we talking about that which is unseen of the supreme infinite living mind, which is called Amen. In the Holy Bible, I realize that there are many people who have lost the understanding and knowledge of the word Amen. They think it means a stopping point, when Amen is the name itself of the breath of mind, the breath being Ah. El-Ah being the same as Allah, Al-Ah in Arabic, which they've formed as one word, and El-Ah, the breath. And so when you say El-Amen, you're talking about the breath of the mind, or the breath in mind, the breath in infinite mind, the infinite mind that breathes life into all creation. The unseen mind. See, you can't see your mind. We can't see any of our minds. We can see our brain if our skull is opened up, but we can't see the mind, even if you see the brain. And El is an infinite mind, eternal and infinite mind. That is impossible for anything else to be, impossible for anything to truly, truly, truly understand or realize in its fullness. Because its fullness is too much for any created thing. It's too much for anything aside from itself. And when I say aside from itself, don't get confused to think that there can be something aside from itself. I mean something other that it has created from its holiness or its wholeness of being. And that's everything in creation. You know. And one of the things people do is, like, for instance, you got people that's been in this community with me, and I've seen it in other situations with other communities. People would act certain ways in my presence, and then when I'm not around, they act other ways. And their thought is, well, you know, the Holy Apostle's not here, so I'm going to be like this here. Forgetting that I only represent El. I'm only the messenger. And the one for you to be concerned with is the unseen supreme mind. That thing which is everywhere at all times and all places. You know? Serving life to all things. That's the one. And you can't hide from that. You know? So it's foolish, like you said, to try to hide from the invisible man. You know? And let's look at Superman. Caucasians in America know that Superman represents the supreme man, the supreme mind. But they took a spin-off and called it Superman or Supermind or for supreme mind. And I look at that knowing the spin-off that they've used for Superman, and I look at the history of Superman and the people who have played those roles. Many of them have died tragic deaths or suffered tragically in this life.
Let me add, in respect to that, it's like there's a real power with regards, there's a reality with regards to the invisible mind and the rules that it lays out for us, how we're supposed to behave behind it. So, you know, I'm thinking, okay, maybe an actor playing Superman, the actor himself doesn't, I don't know about the writers, but the actor himself doesn't appreciate that he might be tripping over or violating something.
No, many of the actors aren't actors because they are disbelievers. And they will take pay and act in any way to support their lives and present a picture to people that they realize affects the minds of the communities, the minds of man. That's what their job is. The actor's job is connected with the governments. They portray actions on TV that become real, on theater that become real to the onlookers. And they suggest all kinds of things that the government may want them to suggest to the people. That's why, if you really want to know about change in society, watch television, watch theater. What they present to you, surely it will be shown to you as time goes on in the society itself. Much of what they show, they already have in operation, but not on a large scale for the whole of the community or the whole of the society to realize. And so what they do is they prepare people for their change. And most of their change is ill change. They destroyed the world with their changes and their modernization, you know. Somewhere down the line, the word modernization might turn out to be a word that means evil. Who knows? Because in the societies today, modernization have hurt the people ultimately, you know, for overuse of things, you know. And it's hard to, you know, take that away from people because people like convenience, you know.
Yeah. As far as what you were saying about the actors not knowing, and you saying that they work for the government, like a lot of the movies I've seen, like, you know, behind the scenes stuff, the entertainment shows or whatever about the movies, like the actors go into deep things to get into these roles.
Yeah, they be educated.
Study.
They know.
Yeah, they know what they get themselves into when they take these roles.
I remember Robert Redford, I believe it was Robert Redford, made a statement at one of the awards shows, and he said something in the vein of his appreciation to be a leader, for the actors to be leaders for the government, to basically to control the people's minds, their thoughts. I was like, damn, he really kind of put that out there. Forgive me, but I don't exactly remember the word verbatim, but that thought frame is what he put out there.
And if people look, and while
but he was telling the truth,
right?
You
and,
know,
influencing the people.
right,
right.
And if people look at that statement and just look at what's going on, especially in the African American community, if you look, when Denzel first came out, he did most of his roles was on positive, something that you
Washington.
Look, Denzel Washington, the actor. He was promoting the boys' club, brotherhood, and things of that nature as his private goal.
Mm-hmm.
And he also did positive roles, and you saw how talented he was.
Yeah, the best, one of the best in the business,
and
if not the best.
Then what they did was what people look at as racism. It's not racism; it's facts. Mm-hmm. If you look at things clearly, you could see the facts. He had a lot of black people admiring his work, looking at what he was doing anytime he was in the movie and everything. Right. Then what did they do? And they tricked him. See, sometimes we think that people that's shown on TV are highly intelligent, mm-hmm. and they're beyond our low-level thinking as African Americans. No, they came from this root, and they're low-level thinking no matter how big their paycheck is. But we don't look at them at that way. We look at ourselves as low, and we raise them high. Now, his low-level thinking let him take roles such as Training Day. Mm-hmm. And then he did that documentary or whatever on who?
Talking about American Gangster.
American Gangster on Luke. What was the name?
Frank Lucas.
Frank Lucas.
Yeah.
Now, if we really stop looking at drug pushers as heroes and look at how many families, how many lives in the African American community they have totally destroyed, and look at them as Adolf Hitler, then we will see that what Denzel did hurted the African American community.
Well, he rewarded that individual, and they publicized his reward of him. Now, I don't know whose orders he was under. You say they tricked him. We don't know if he was really tricked.
No, I didn't say they tricked him. I said he's the low-level thinking African American.
Well, we don't know that. I wouldn't want to judge him.
Well, I wouldn't say
on
that he's a low-level.
Because I know what you're trying to say. You're saying that he's not thinking in a divine way.
Right.
You know, because he's very intelligent. And intelligent, when I say intelligent, some people think that I'm talking about somebody being smart. But no. Intelligent means he has a collection of a lot of information that he is familiar with, and he's able to speak it out, you know. So he's very intelligent, and he seems to have a good heart. But as far as being guided aright, you know, when you go into the business of theater, and, you know, you may get caught up in the money, you may overspend and have debt. We don't know what's going on with people, you know. Mm-hmm. And then you take certain roles that maybe you wouldn't normally take. But at the same time, an actor, you're talking about an actor. He may have thought to himself, I'm tired of doing these good roles.
Well,
let me expand my art.
As a matter of fact,
because they look at it as art.
Mm-hmm.
And it's more than that.
Yeah, it's more. In the case of Denzel Washington, I remember just before he did the training, I think as a promotion for it, he talked about changing his type of roles. And we remember all the nominations he got, but he was never acknowledged for all the roles.
But look how he won when he brought forth a negative connotation.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes.
Yeah, when you bring forth a negative representation, I should say, for the people to follow. Mm-hmm. You know, and we know they're bad cops, and we know that they're gangsters, but they deify him through the acting. You understand? And that's wrong. You know, and it's very hurtful, but you know, we in, you know, the African American people is in a bad place. You know, always been since we've been forced over here from Africa, you know, is and mixed with all these different cultures, you know, different people, because we're mixed with every race of people that's come through here. You know, somebody was asking me today about us being the same or different from Caucasians, but the thing about the African Americans, you can't identify any one African American as the same people. We are multicultural, multi-genetic people. That's what African Americans are. We've been pilfered through sexually and giving ourselves up to all kinds of people through our history here, trying to survive. You know? And so, through that, Ahezaah has created a new people. A people of the world. You know, that's us. You know? And so many of us, they say, oh, this person's like, we used to call them Oreo cookies. Black folks that want to act like white folks. But as I've grown, I realized, you know, no, they're not Oreo cookies, you know, where they just trying to act like white folks. They are white folks. Many of our African Americans are white folks. Caucasians. They just have dark skin. But many of them have more Caucasian in them than African. In their genetic code, in their minds, in their spirit, in their being. And we look at, oh, you nigga, you black, you this, you that. No, they not. You know, and don't confuse me for using the word nigga, because see, to me, nigga could be anybody. You could be as white as Casper the Ghost and be a nigga in my book, because nigga is something that's a negative person to me, not a race, you know. But unfortunately, many black folks has accepted that for being called nigga, where the Southerners couldn't. They had a drawl when they was trying to say Negro, and they was saying Niggero, and they stopped with the O and just said nigger, you know. And some people say, well, it's because we was from Niger, you know, in Africa. But you know, it's, I don't know. They made it very negative, you know. But yeah, you know, those things that they do, man, you know, they don't hold themselves accountable for it. Their escape is, this is art.
Right.
It's just performing.
And what I meant was that Denzel himself is tricked.
Right.
You know, they use the same, they use almost about the same game on him as they would use on someone else that
if
they could use to work against what they need the African American mindset to stay in.
Well, the reason that he's an actor, an accomplished actor, is because he's capable of being tricked.
Right.
They only use those who are capable of being tricked. Those who don't care about the morals of the people. Those who are selfish and don't, you know, they're not deep in fear of the divine. Do you know most actors don't believe? Most of them are atheists. And they don't believe, that's why they can get on stage and act and do any kind of thing. They are the leaders in the perversion that's going on in this state, in the United States of America, in the world. They're the leaders of those things.
Yeah, a lot of the actors are, what's it called, Scientologists. They like big advocates for that. So
yeah, today, yeah, that new thing, you know, it's about gaining money.
Yeah,
worshiping money and...
Yeah, what is that about? Because I never understood what it was.
Well,
Self-improvement.
for what I understood, it was about promoting your own self as God, so to speak, to achieve what you can. You know, from L. Ron Hubbard. You know.
What was L. Ron Hubbard?
That he wrote a book on Scientologists or whatever, but
Founder.
yeah, I remember from a long time ago, you know, it's talking about, like that old saying, be as you will, you know. Whatever you think you can be, whatever you want to be, go for it. You know? Don't let anything stop you. But see, a person that's of the path of the way, you know, of L, they're fearful or mindful, I should say, of trying to be whatever it is they want to be, because they realize there's something that they have to answer to, you know. But with these atheists who call themselves all different things, they don't think there's anything they have to answer to. And you know, the Lord it allows the people who are perverted, and the people who are evil, and the people who denounce it and reject it. It allows them to do those things as a sign for those who are sincere in seeking it out. It allows them to do that to show the results of their rejection of it to those who would seek it out. Unfortunately, today, as it has been prophesied and by, you know, through Jesus in the book of Revelation to John and the other books of Mark, Matthew, Luke, and whomever, what was said to Jesus is happening today. What was said to Muhammad in the Holy Quran about the great day, the great and dreadful day, the same as the day of Revelation. You know, now you have people that don't want to identify that, and they say, well, Muhammad was the last, and there's no day on earth to come, and you know, they try to disconnect Muhammad from Revelations and Jesus. But Muhammad believed in Revelation. He believed in this day. You know, it wasn't a day in heaven, it was a day on earth. You know? And so, you know, here we go with you know, people doing things and not being accountable, and doing things and forgetting or not being aware that the throne of the Lord is right before them, that they right in at the throne of the Lord.
We say that many of the people, from the highest of the jinn that influences everybody at the different levels down to the lowest social code level, people are lost and influenced by their belief that this invisible mind, this invisible man, is in fact not real, does not exist. And so you go about and not ultimately being tricked into thinking there's not going to be any consequences for your behavior. You can get away with this. There's no harm in this because you know, I imagine it, you know.
I beg to differ. I know a lot of people don't believe this, but there are some people that know about El, know about his presence, know about his power, and realize that they themselves serve the opposer, the greatest opposer of El, the chief opposition of El, Satan, Set, the devil Satan. You know? And they are aware of their positions. Truly, they are aware. Just like I am aware of the devil, I am aware of Satan being unseen. I'm aware of how Ahezaah have treated it, and that it allows it to exist as an opposing force. And I realize that to truly believe in El, you must believe in regards to the devil. So for them to truly be as they are to the highest, they must know about El. I've had some people who've come to me who had attacked me before my enlightenment. They realized they were groups of witches and warlocks, and they realized who I was. And the funny thing about it is, the ironic thing about it is, they realized before I realized who I was to be. And they have been doing some things against me for years. And once I became enlightened, they made phone calls all up and down the East Coast telling the people to leave me alone. It's too late. That he is aware of himself now. You know? So you have people who was looking for the chosen one, not just Caucasians, but I'm talking about African witches and warlocks and demons and you know, people who deal with all the dark side of the mysticism, who were looking to raise the devil and the Antichrist and take me out. You know? And many people, I may say, many beings have lost their lives for them trying to find me. You know? Well, we can't find him, but if you kill up enough of these, maybe he's in there. And I myself was poisoned 25 years ago by a group of people who try to take my life, and through an institution, an established government institution, and ironically, you can't find records of me ever being there. You know? So this thing about the Antichrist and the chosen one of El being here on earth is real. Certain people know it, most people don't believe it. Those people that you talking about.
Right.
But there are some who realized about this high level of war between, you know, the holy and chosen of El and the jinn, men and jinn, the powerful men and jinn of the Antichrist. You know?
I appreciate the analogy you I think share with us, is that this is the story of Adam and Eve. And the story of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden is a continuing story.
Yeah.
The serpent is still in the garden.
See, people don't understand. They think that the story of Adam and Eve is over. Yeah, Adam and Eve was in the Garden of Eden. What you mean Adam and Eve was in the Garden of Eden? We are the children of Adam and Eve, humanity. And we are still in the Garden of Eden. Eden is earth. We were sent down and put in bodies in the material of earth, in the garden, in the material of garden. This is still a garden. And the Lord, it names and numbers all things. It named New Jersey the Garden State. It called New Jersey New Jerusalem. It called its chosen city the New Ark. It did all this, put all this together itself. And then when people like myself, who has been made aware of this, come and say, they say, oh boy, he really put things together. He's a great storyteller. You know? With them not realizing that Ahezaah has its hands in everything. You know? So all is as it was planned to be in this great day of revelation, this great and dreadful day of the Lord, when it has come down as Christ. The people looking for Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. There's no such person. There was a Jesus, and then there was Christ, who enlightened Jesus, who crushed Jesus, who gave Jesus new birth. I got him. You got about 15 seconds for this. You know?
With those 15 seconds, we're going to bow to our half-hour audiences and ask them to return to us with our next segment. So may this peace and blessing.
Who of you want to do things right? To keep up with keeping your lives tight. Tight as in being right with the truth of true insight. Who of you want to do things right? Who of you